Did Chip and his siblings break off of Malphite, or does the Rock Boy canonically bone? I mean, I think you know how the community is going to answer. Like, I've seen people in like, I made a short about Malphite recently, and there was a lot of thirst for the Rock Boy. There was a lot of thirst for him in the comments. So we can all choose to believe that Malphite has fucked a mountain. Like, he's just sidled up like a nice large rock formation and been like, so you come here often, and then, you know, one thing leads to another, and then there's earthquakes for like 2.5 hours continuously. Like, everyone around the world is, oh god, it's the end of the world, and then next morning, lots of little chips running around. Just, we can all believe that collectively. But no, I believe canonically the thing is that Chip is a chip off Malphite. Like, he's a little bit of rock that got sheared off of Malphite, and then inherited Malphite's ability to be alive, as such. So he's Malphite's son in that way. As I have just cursed all of you with terrible mental imagery, which is something I like to do. And by the way, Carl Moore, thank you for that generous super chat. That was very kind of you. Never kill Chip, only obliterate. Yeah, I mean, yeah. If you must. If you absolutely must. Earthquakes is mountain sex. Yes. You have now been given forbidden knowledge, my friend. Oh, chip interactions. Yes, let's do the chip interactions. Thank you for reminding me. I almost forgot. Let's do the chip interactions because he has them. That would be, where's Chip? Where's Chip? Where's Chip? Where's Chip? Where's Chip? There he is. Yoink.
Let's put these rocks into motion. I'm Rock. Put me in motion. Papa!
Hello, little pebble.
Papa! Big as a mountain and...
Twice as strong. Good memory, Chip.
Talia! Talia!
Chip, you're the noisiest little rock.
Rock solid.
You're just like your mountain.
Caught between a rock and
a hard place, Chip?
Blue, you're my favorite rock and also color. Blue is like me, except very different in every way. Wow, wow! So many steps! Little steps for little legs! Oh, hiya, Cliff. Hey there, big guy. Whoa, look at that sky! What are the white dots in the sky? Whoa, long way down! Wow, wow, look at that view! Spike's not a morning person. No, no. Hey, Spike! Nice, Spike!
Chip sings the next two, like, Malphite sings the first lines, like the first stanza of "She'll be coming around the mountain when she comes," and then Chip sings the second and the third, like, bars of the song. Which is adorable.
Demacians!
Anyway, shut the fuck up, Jarvan. I don't care about you. You suck. Right, let me look at chat again. Hello, chat. Prismatic Chip. Peepo Shy. Yes, Prismatic Chip. Absolutely Prismatic Chip. 110% Prismatic Chip. Let's do that right now. Prismatic Chip. There we go. Like, the Demacian characters are evil, though. Like, they're bad people. Most of them, anyway. Like, they're not... Anyway, that's a discussion for a different time. I don't want the comments to fill up with that for this one. Let's see... Get the music back on. There we go. Right. There we go. Moving on to the dancing Droplet. And I really like this creature design. It's ostensibly it's one of the Ionian spirit creatures, basically. Like, it's one of the little magic beasties that call the place home. I really like the creature design, like that. It's this water droplet that looks like a bird, but its legs are like twigs that it has picked up from like the whatever. And also, it's elusive, it attunes, and when you recall, you can draw 1, which is very annoying. What would you say to a show about Bilgewater? I'd say fuck yeah. Like, if, like, Riot has Studio Fortiche working on Arcane right now, so they don't want to announce anything else, but, like, as a next thing, Bilgewater would be an obvious place to set a show. But we're getting a game set there now, so, like, Ruined King. Eventually. It's been delayed a lot by COVID, so who knows when the fuck that's coming out. Adorable water duck. Yeah. So, once again, we are working with what you might call a Dutch angle, which is very obvious because we're looking at water, which always aligns to the plane of gravity. So we are working at a really steep, like a 45-degree twisted angle on this thing, which I think here in this case is just mostly to add some dynamism to the image, which would otherwise, like, because all this thing is doing is just standing in water, right? Like, it's just standing in water. So in order to add some dynamics, in order to make the image exciting to look at, like to make it interesting, we have this extremely twisted angle, and we have this, like this curling tail of water coming off of the creature itself, like forming the bulk of its body. That adds a little bit of like adds some motion to the image, adds some dynamics. The same thing with the leaves. Like, I think the leaves are really just there to add like a sense of motion and movement to an image that, if you imagine this same drawing, but like the angle is completely flat, and like the tail of water isn't like swaying and swooping left to right, and there's no leaves falling down, it would just be like a thing standing in a lake, and like nothing happening. So all of this, I think, is really just added to create dynamism in the image, like to make the image look exciting even though the subject isn't. And it works really well, frankly. So again, framing the tree here is being used to create like a background, a framing space for the bird to occupy. It's all red and orange, and the bird itself is green, so there's a nice contrast between the foreground and the background. The bird has a high density of detail, etc., etc., etc. We've already covered all of this. But it's a cool little card. I quite like it. Sorry, Dragon Chow. You were cute for like 10 minutes, but now we have chips, so now we're okay with you being eaten. Goodbye. Right. I need my card list of new cards, because I believe that's Frozen Throne of Exhaust. It's Imagined Possibilities next. This is one of the interesting spell cards, by the way, because it's a Cillian-associated thing. And I believe that what we're getting a look at here is Icathia before the fall. Like, I think that's what this is meant to be, is we have this hourglass shape created by the building or the pile or whatever the hell it is. And inside the portal, we can see void tentacles and purple and, like, bad stuff and covered in sand and whatever. So, oh, things have been destroyed on this side of the portal. But what we're looking at here, I think, is meant to be a look at Icathia the way it looked before they were stupid enough to summon the void and fuck everything up forever. But I just really like the storytelling device of, like, having the portal create a sort of a shearing space and, like, a window into an alternate reality version of this scene that you're looking at. Like, it's just a really neat little way to do storytelling at the same time as creating a functional icon for a spell. Imagined possibilities, right? Like, so there's the imagined possibility of a restored Icathia. This is a good story time. Then there's the Scrying Sands. There's not much to say about that one. It's just Azir doing his sand magic stuff, which is, like, very cool and all, but it's just Azir doing sand magic. Which means that the next cards are the Wings and the Wave. Why did I say that in that voice? I don't know. And the Wings and the Wave, from a lore perspective, are really are Cillian's followers Icathian? No, not all of them. Some of them are, but Zillion is gathering mages from all across different timelines. So, like, they could probably be from pretty much everywhere. I tweeted a big chip deck list at you. Hope you enjoy. I'll look for that, Puncake. Thank you. So, lore-wise, these two creatures are interesting. The Kinkus speak of only two gods. The first wave, who cradles life in its warm waters, and the last wind, who snatches life with its final frigid sighs. So, this is tying into the lore around the Mask Mother and the lore around Kindred and, like, the embodiments of death and, like, how death works in Runeterra, because for a long time we only had Kindred. And so the idea was, okay, so Kindred are, like, the death of everyone. Everyone who dies gets to see the Kindred, and that's the end of it. No, turns out it depends what you believe. So if you're the Kindu and you believe in these people, then, or these spirits, then by the time you die, it's Captain Bird over here is gonna show up and snatch your spirit away and take you to the afterlife or whatever. And these are like the only gods that the Kindu apparently believe in, and they're the first sort of religious gods that we've seen that are associated with the Kindu beyond just, like, the Kindu normally just, like, oh, they're spirit realm, something, I don't know, balanced spirit realm. Like, they was always kind of vague what their cosmology was about, but here we have some actual clues to how their worldview works. Specifically, that they have this little frog. He's like, hey, you're a tadpole, come out of the water and you can be alive, and then you have a bird which is like, fuck you, die! That's how the Kindu work. I do like the detail that the frog creature has this scythe-like looking thing, which again is about this, like, this dichotomy of, like, for the Kindu, life and death are two halves of the same whole, right? They see it as two parts of the same thing. In the same way that like, the Kindred are split in two. The Kindred is like the lamb who just, like, gives you a peaceful death if you accept death when it comes, or the wolf who's gonna fucking murder you to death if you try and run away. Mask Mother doesn't create death, she just gives death a face. Yeah, basically. Mask Mother is basically, like, the idea of the Mask Mother is that she gives shape to the spirits of death that go around doing the collecting. But it's also... It's because of the way Riot operates. They like to be vague enough that if they want to, they can say, oh, the Mask Mother thing? No, that's just a story that people believe. That's not necessarily the literal truth. The Mask Mother didn't literally create the Kindred, ha ha ha. Like, they keep it vague enough that they can do that if they want to. So it's one of those things about canon that's always going to be soft. But anyway, these are cute little gods, or cute little death creatures. I kind of like the mask thing that they've got going on. I like the mustache on the little frog creature. So once again, lighting. We have all of the light concentrated around these two creatures. They are the most highlighted things in the entire image. There's no direct sunlight this time, because we're in the Shadow Isles, the Spirit Realm, wherever the hell we are. But we have a lot of direct edge lighting. We have a lot of lighting circulating around them. They're central in the image, and they kind of don't really need a frame because they kind of frame themselves, but they are central in the image. It's easy to see that they're the central characters of what's going on here. Ever gonna do What's the Deal with Lysandra? Oh, keep an eye on my channel over the next couple of weeks. You might be surprised. Yes. Oh, and then there's the Thrashing Snapper. Poor creature. This thing is a frickin' epic wild card. Why is this thing an epic? It's a one cost that just can, like, when an enemy blocks me, I can kill bigger things before I die. Why is this thing epic? Why is this so expensive? It's just a one... What the hell, Riot? Honestly. But anyway, I don't understand that. But the Thrashing Snapper is, of course, the, Wait, now I need to do the filter thing again. God damn it. Is, of course, the Scaled Snapper from Ionia, from the original launch set, who looks very happy. It was like he's having a good time. He's just hanging out in Ionia. He's friends with the little birds. And the frog is like, oh, there's my friend, the Scaled Snapper, and it's a good time, and everyone's happy, and it's balanced with nature, yay! And then we see his actual fate is to suffer and die in the Noxian fighting pits, screaming until his last day when his blood is drained and he lies dead in the arena, killed by Draven. Thanks for the fucking bummer, Riot, you assholes. It's just a very mean card. It's just very mean. Like... Really? This happy turtle guy, he had to die like that? You had to do him like that, Riot? Really? You jerks, you bastards. This is a real depiction of how the WWE uses its wrestlers. Oh, you accidentally spilled some truth there, RC Scooter. Anyway, Noxus is evil. I don't know if any of you guys had caught up on that, but Noxus... the Empire that's conquering people and, like, has, like, fighting pits where they murder people by having them executed in gladiatorial combat and, like, that, like, turn everything, like, use all of their resources on the army in order to conquer more territory, which is then used to fuel the army. They're bad guys. Like, Noxus is actually not, like, good, and they're not a meritocracy, and it's not a nice place to live, and you shouldn't like them that much because they're actually bad. Just thought maybe you hadn't picked up on that. Then look what they fucking did to the poor scaled snapper. Like, this is like friends with the little birds, and they just do this shit to him. So, like, just in case you weren't clear, Nox is bad, actually. Anyway, so we have a little bit of framing going on here. It's not a very explicit frame, but there's a little bit of framing where the bulk of the snapper's body is framed against this black void of nothing inside the gates of the arena itself. Then we have, like, a little compositional trick. Like, it's trapped with all these chains, right? But the bonus of those chains is that they also create lines in the image, and all those lines lead you towards the snapper itself. So, like, they help the composition of the image, and they also create, look at this. You have this, like, this triangular shape that sort of emerges in the image. And, like, when it comes to image composition, if you can create, like, a triangle wedge shape in the middle of the image, like, out of anything, like, out of any prominent shapes that you have available, if you can create, like, a triangular wedge shape, that's a really good way to lead the eye. That's a really good way to get people to pay attention to one part of the image or the other. If Nox is bad, then why Derry is hot? Checkmate, atheists. I can't argue with that, Julian Plot, mostly because it's not an argument, but, like, fair enough. But yeah, the triangle here, like this little triangular wedge shape like this that comes up in the image, that, again, helps lead the eye. And then there's the highlights, like, it's the most highlighted thing, and then the secondary most highlighted thing is, like, the soldiers that are keeping it trapped because they're secondary creatures. They're secondary actors in the action that's playing out, right? And then it's just a really good dynamic pose. Like, you have the long tail creating this swooping curve that then leads into the back. And then you have the neck creating this counter pose against it. Like, this, it just has a really strong pose on it that really gives you the sense that it's, like, flailing around and trying to escape the poor thing because Noxus is evil and is hurting it for no reason. If you had to live in Demacia or Noxus, which would you choose? No, fuck, oh god, no. No, I don't want to. I don't want to live in either of those places. Are you crazy? I don't want to live anywhere on Runeterra. Runeterra fucking sucks, man. If I had to live anywhere, it'd be in Ionia, like, before Noxus invaded, or, like, really far away from where they invaded. But if I had to pick between Demacia and Noxus, I'd probably pick Noxus ultimately, because then you could just, like, in Noxus at least, I could be like, yeah, I live in Noxus, but I live in, like, one of the colonies, like, far away from the central city, where they just, like, showed up and was like, we have a big army, you belong to Noxus now, and everyone was like, okay, we don't want to fight, and then the Noxus army just left, and you can kind of live in peace without too much trouble from them. I would not want to live in Noxus proper. Like, I wouldn't want to live in Noxus City. That place fucking sucks. If you're not a mage, Demacia is fine. No, it's not. Not really. Like, it's probably not too bad, but it's like, you still have an upper class nobility of, like military elites who control everything, and everyone and everything else is expected to be subservient to the military elite at all times. It's still, like, a highly feudalized, like, really rigid class structure society that's not a lot of fun to live in. Like, it's like a hyper-nationalist military state. It's not great. Nowhere on Runeterra is good. I don't want to live anywhere on Runeterra if I can avoid it. Right, moving on. Like, Runeterra is not a fun isekai world to go to where you get superpowers and every girl wants to jump on your dick, you know? Like, Runeterra is bad. I don't want to... This is the fucking void that's going to consume the world any day now. You've got Aurelian's soul hovering in orbit just waiting for the day when he can, like, burn the planet to a crisp. You've got fucking Mordekaiser hanging out in the realm of death planning when he's going to take over the world. And right now, fucking Viego just, like, might show up out of nowhere because you have, like, a fucking hat pin that Isolde used to wear. He's just gonna show up with an army of the dead and kill everyone? No, I don't want to live on Runeterra. Runeterra is bad, man. It fucking sucks. Garbage place. Terrible. Anyway, I liked to bring this one up because it's a picture of Avarosa. And she's wearing a bustier, and she's got bare fucking thighs out. Riot? Why? Riot? Riot? Why? Like, you yourself gave Ash voice lines that were like, haha, it sure is stupid that we're running around without our clothes on, because that's contrary to all of the lore. And then you do a statue of Avarosa where she's got her fucking thighs out. Because why? It doesn't matter. Whatever. Is dumb, very silly. It annoys me specifically. It doesn't annoy anyone else, I'm sure, but me specifically, I hate it. Like, she looks hot. Don't get me wrong. If Avarosa looks like that, like, hell yeah, mommy. Like, whoa, absolutely gorgeous. But it's dumb. From a storytelling perspective, it's dumb. Headcanon, Freljordians are immune to cold. Well, that would have to stay in your head, because that's just not canon. She's an Iceborn, dude. I have to explain this every single fucking time. Every time I have to explain this. Iceborn are not immune to cold. They are not immune to cold. They are highly resistant to cold. They can survive the cold a lot better than a normal person, but they are not immune to cold, and they wear normal clothes. In fact, let me show you. Every time I have to show it, but I just want to be done having to explain this. So let me bring up, I'm just finding some evidence for you right now, which is really slow because the universe page is garbage. Load faster. Thank you. Da-da-da-dee. Here you go. Open image in new tab. F11. Oh, wait, no, don't do that. Don't do that. Stop doing that. Goddamn website. There we go. And then we go this, go game capture. This is an Iceborn. Furs, leathers, lots of furs and leathers. This is an Iceborn. Leathers and leathers and leathers and leathers. Iceborn, Iceborn. All of these people, these guys right here, that guy right there, Iceborn. They're Iceborn. All of them are Iceborn. All of them are wearing clothes because they're not fucking morons. This guy is an Iceborn. This guy, Iriel, he's like one of Ash's fathers. Like, we don't really know exactly who about it. This is an Iceborn. You know what he's wearing? Fur and leather. Leather and fur. And leather and fur and fur and leather because he lives in the Freljord, and why wouldn't he? And there's this thing. Even Iceborn have limits. This is a bunch of Iceborn walking through the ice. Look at them. Do they look comfortable? Do they look like, hey, that's just a snowstorm. We don't care because we're Iceborn. We're immune to cold. No, they're not immune to cold. Iceborn are not immune to cold. Stop it. Stop saying it. Riot, put out an animated short that shows it or something. I'm tired of having to explain it. This is not your fault. Like, the person who said that, this is not your fault. It's just that I've heard that 400 billion times now, and I'm so tired of having to explain it. Anyway, the point of Braum is that he's a very special Iceborn. Like, he's an Iceborn who's, like, incredibly resilient. That's why he runs around shirtless, is because he's the only one who can actually do that. He's the one Iceborn who's like, yeah, I'm fucking Braum, I can take it. Everyone else would be like, oh, that's a bad idea, Braum, you shouldn't do that, you'll get frostbite. Like, even though you're Iceborn, you'll definitely get frostbite. And Braum is like, haha, I am Braum. Braum can do thing. And then he doesn't do it. That's why he's a champion, is because he's special. And then Tryndamere and Olaf and fucking Gragas, they're Iceborn, but well, actually, we don't know if Tryndamere is an Iceborn, but they were not designed for the Freljord. It's a whole thing. Watch my Building a Better Ash video. I explain the whole thing. Moving on! Blue buff! Fuck this. Moving on. I'm gonna stop complaining. I'm gonna stop complaining. And we'll just do Chip. Hello, Chip. Chip is giving us more adventures now. Okay, everyone, say hi, Blue. Hi, Blue. Okay, one time I thought he was hi, Blue back, but now that I think about it, it might have been my voice bouncing off the walls. Oh well, he's magical and stuff, and also blue. So if you ask me, he doesn't even need to speak. Okay, Blue, let's go. Blue is good. I like blue. It's nice that the blue buff is now canon in mainstream League of Legends lore, and I think if we get red buff. People are saying it's probably going to be Ionia, but I would say if we get an Ishtal region, red buff should be from there, because it's like a tree monster, and Ishtal is like the jungle region. But it's probably, if we get a red buff, it's probably going to be Ionian. But I hope so. Anyway, blue buff. So, framing. And the framing here is like patently obvious. You have these two stone arcs creating like this round circular frame for the blue buff to occupy. We have the lighting, like the only really source of colored lighting coming from behind here, which draws our attention to here. Then we have blue buff itself, which has, of course, big, bright blue magic lines and stuff all over it, especially right here on its face. And that's, like, those are the compositional basics. Notice also that we have a slight Dutch angle here. Like, we have a slight tilt to the camera, because clearly, like, from our perspective when we're looking at blue buff here, it looks more or less like it's getting ready to punch us, right? Like, it's got the clenched fist, it's kind of hunched over forwards, like the spread, steady position. Like, it looks like it's about to charge and kill you. So there's this slightly unbalanced feeling of like, oh, okay. It's just, hello, I'm just walking here with my friend Chip. Please don't kill me. I'm going away now, bye. It's like a little bit panicked. So canonically, blue buff is called blue. I mean, certainly Malphite and Chip calls it blue. We don't know what it wants to call itself because it doesn't speak. But I really do like it's a nicely designed character, the blue buff. Like I do like the big central egg shape of its body that just has these like things attached to it, kind of floating magically off the side of it. It's just a good little golem design. Looks quite cool. Then we have the Crest of Insight, and here's Chip. Look at him. That is Chip. That's my boy. That's my little tiny boy. My little boy for scale. This is Blue's favorite place in the whole wide world. He says it's super magical. Oh, ah. Which again, if you've listening to the stream so far, framing. Central point of light and interest, and Chip for scale. To give you a sense of it. So yeah, not a lot to say about this one, I think. This one I really like. We'll talk about that in a sec. Let me look at chat. How is everyone doing in chat? Are you having fun? Are you enjoying the stream? Am I going too fast? Am I going too slow? Did I complain too much about the Iceborn? Yes, I did. Look behind Blue's leg. Oh yeah, Chip is there. You are having fun. Good. Good. I am glad you are having fun. You always complain just enough. I mean, the comments would disagree. Can we talk about Avarosa's thighs more? I mean, they're very good thighs. I just wish they weren't there. Well, I mean, I don't mention that she has thighs, but like this, she looks like she should become. It doesn't matter. Who cares? It's a statue. It doesn't matter. It's not a person. It's a statue. It's fine. It's fine. It's a statue. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. We should make a cult for Chip. Yes. Are you having fun? Oh yeah, I'm enjoying myself tremendously. I always love doing these streams, but I try not to do them too often. So Pyke, yes. Pyke is coming to Legends of Runeterra at some point. We kind of assume that he's coming in the next set, like in the next expansion to the set. And this is kind of just an announcement that Pyke is coming at some point or another. But the reason why I wanted to bring this up is because this is a really good dynamic, because how do you make a static image look like it moves? Like, how do you make it look like there's movement, like there's speed, like there's things happening? Now, if you look at anime art, and comic book art for that matter, the answer you get is speed lines. Like, just put speed lines on it, lots of speed lines, motion blur, like do all that stuff to make the thing look like it's moving. But how would you do it if you can't use those tools, because this icon needs to be very clean and very clear so that it works for gameplay purposes. Like, you don't want the icon on the spell card to have a bunch of speed lines on it, because that makes it harder to read what's going on. Well, you do two things. You do an extreme perspective, so you have this extreme distortion of perspective as this thing is moving, not directly towards the viewer, but moving, like, towards you-ish, so you have this perspective distortion and foreshortening. And you do other effects in the image. And in this case, what they're doing this spiraling water splash coming out of the background along with the bone skewer, which gives it this sense of forward momentum, like it has just burst through the water and has dragged these water particles along with it as it's moving forward. And there's a lovely sense of speed in the image just from those things being there, while the actual painting of the thing has, like, from a comic artist perspective, would seem to be very static, but because of the way that it's composed, because of the way it's put together, it works really well, and I really like it. Skyen, I want you to do a rant on why the Watcher has a horny feel to it. Do I have to explain that, really? Like, I don't know. Do I have to explain why this character design is a little bit horny? Like, you can see it, right? It has tentacles on its face. It has, like, 6 arms, and it's very large. Have you not been paying attention to the Resident Evil hype? Like, all the people who want to fuck the vampire lady? You think they get less horny if the lady gets bigger? Or the creature? Like the monster fuckers know what I'm talking about. Horny doesn't, like, it. A horny character design doesn't have to have the tits out. A horny character design doesn't have to have, like very obvious, like, oh, this is a thing for the fucking. Sometimes it just has to have certain physical features that line up with certain kinks. Like, that's really all it takes. So, like, I don't know. I don't have to explain it, I think. Anyone who knows already knows, and anyone who doesn't understand it, I can't explain it to them. No, Lucas, they're not my kinks. It's just I have a lot of kinky friends. And I've also been on the internet since, like, the late 90s. I have seen everything. I have seen everything. Nothing surprises me anymore. Nothing. I promise you that. Anyway, are those Yordles? Answer is no, we think. Probably not. So, and the thing is this here, the first Sawnite miners to discover the Kyrien or whatever, thought them timid, simple creatures, but as the years passed, and as they grew comfortable with humans, they slowly revealed their close societal bonds and their seemingly native understanding of technology. So they are a new species of creature, called the Kyrien or the Kyrien or whatever, that are sort of these little fuzzy, furry gremlin things that live in Sawn, I guess, alongside the Wumps, which are also creatures that live in Zaun. The Harbo. I don't like how the Watcher's many arms look so human. This thing is a leader of the Void. No, it's not a leader of the Void. The Watchers that emerge from the Howling Abyss are lesser void creatures. They're minor void creatures. And the actual, the real intelligences in the void, like the leaders, air quotes, of the void, whatever they are a lot bigger. Like, they're the size of small planets and moons. Like, they're absolutely massively huge. But the reason why the Watcher looks the way it does, let's bring the Watcher up again so I can explain. It's a little bit... The trouble with Watchers and the trouble with anything Void-related is that Riot has changed their minds about it many, many times in the past. But basically, the way it's described, as the Watchers emerge from the Howling Abyss, the problem that Void creatures have is that they don't... Like, in the Void, there's no laws of physics. Like, there's no laws of physics, there's no such thing as mass, there's no such thing as anything. So when they enter the physical realm, what they need to do is they need to take on a shape of some kind that allows them to act on the world. So that's why you get creatures like Voidlings, creatures like the really, really small fry. Like, the really simple creatures are the ones like Kha'Zix, are the ones like Rek'Sai, are the ones like Voidlings and things like that. They just take on, like, some kind of vague animal shape, and then they're purple, and then they just go and do their fucking thing. But the higher Void intelligence is, like, Vel'Koz is, like, one step above that, and he chooses a form. Like, he specifically has chosen the floating tentacle monster form for himself because it serves his purposes. And then you get to something like the Watchers, which are, like, an order of magnitude above even a creature like Vel'Koz, and they seem to have chosen a form specifically to imitate Lysandra, and a form that allows them to do manipulation of the magic of Runeterra, which is what we see it doing right here. And that's why they take on something like a human form, is because, okay, this human form will allow us to do the thing that we want to do, which is fucking ruin everything. As far as I understand the lore, that's why the Watchers look the way that they do, is because they are higher order void creatures that need to take on some kind of physical form in order to act on the physical universe. Okay, moving on. Or moving back, rather, to the Kyrien and Sump workers. So, framing, you can see it right there, the bridge, and, like, the buildings in the background creates a little bit of a frame. Then we have the Kyrien and Sump worker here, the frontmost one, being very, very close to the camera. It's very large in the image itself. It has saturated colors compared to the other Kyrien and Sump workers especially. It has higher contrast, it has a little bit more lighting going on it, and it's just central in the image, and that makes it the central character. Pretty simple composition. And then we have the secondary characters of the other Kyrians, or Kyrians, or Chirians, or whatever. However the hell you're supposed to pronounce it. Hanging out as sort of supporting characters in the image, which of course leads us into the Sump work posse, which is Kyrians or Kyrians that have obtained some kind of lightning rod, and now they're just, like, fucking Mad Maxing it down like a zip line on, like, a little bike that they've got put together, and absolutely wrecking the shit of everyone that gets in their way. And again, the framing here is pretty simple. You have all this shattered metal over here, you have these machines over there that they're breaking down. They're just smashing stuff, I guess, for whatever reason. And that sort of creates a central framing for them. There's also another thing going on. The background here, because it's explosions, lots of yellow, lots of red, then we have the green of Zaun, but the Kyrians themselves are identified with this green and with this darker brown, which makes them stand out against the very bright background. So, like, again, all of that just contributes to the thing being what it is. They're sweet enough on their own, sure, but get a bunch of them together, and before you know it, they built some kind of madcap machine and are off knocking down some part of the lanes. Zaun Machinist. Let's see. These are not new. You are new. She summons blades. Yeah. So, looking back in at chat. How's chat doing? Will you review the Meet the Team videos on Team Fortress 2? Probably not. And the reason why is pretty simple. There's no views in it. Which, like... Yeah, I mean, I don't especially enjoy giving that as a reason, but there just isn't. There wouldn't be a lot of views in it, unfortunately. And the trouble with that is, like, I wouldn't mind doing videos that don't get a lot of views, and sometimes I do. Like, sometimes I do videos where I know that they're not going to get a lot of views because I want to do them, but when you do that, YouTube punishes you. Like, the algorithm looks at your video and goes, oh, your video underperformed. Well, I guess that means people aren't interested in watching your videos. And so the next thing you post, even though that's on a popular subject or a thing that people really want to see, your views just get lower. The algorithm just goes, oh, your videos aren't as interesting anymore, so we won't show them to people. So you get punished if you try to, like, do something unusual that's not where there's not a lot of views. So sometimes I do videos that don't get a lot of views intentionally, but when I do it, it's because it's something I really want to do, and I'm not that invested in the Team Fortress shorts, unfortunately. So, anyway, sorry for talking business. Caught the stream late. Love your content. Thank you, Faris. That's very kind of you. Hey, Scotty, I'm going to be doing a video on the Apex Legends shorts. Well, actually, that's funny you should bring that up in this context, because there might be one coming out, which is going to get a lot less views than my normal animation breakdowns, probably. And I've kind of decided to do that because I wanted to do it on that thing. Maybe. It depends on... There's some behind-the-scenes stuff going on with that one. I don't know whether that's going to resolve, but maybe. Maybe there's an animation breakdown on an Apex Legends short coming out. Whew. Caio Lucas Silva, I never heard about your channel. I just got here because of recommendations. Hello? Hi. Hi. Oh, the Clockwork Curator. Did I miss one? Oh, yeah, shit, right, that one's new. I thought that was the old, I thought that was the, that's the one from the, I thought it was the Clockling from Ancient Preparations, but it's not. It's a different one. Do you know what they say about Iceborn? Please don't, Mark. Please don't. Don't get me started again. We spent enough time on that already. Right. Clockwork Curator. And it is, I believe it is a continuation of... it's just... No, can't do that. Okay. I believe it is a continuation of this. Like, I believe it's like, oh, we have found the thing, and you can see they're all coming down from, like, from above, and, oh, we found the Icathian golem things, and I think the thing they're digging out here is, like, old Icathian clockwork golems that they're gathering up for Zillion to use in his tower during the whatever thing. Clockwork Curator, back to find you. There you are. And then this is like the next stage of that, where they're like they're digging them out and they're doing little, oh, we must uncover the things for the Zilly. So that it's a continuation of the story, of them finding this thing. Anyway, so framing, there's not a lot of it, but there's a little bit if you pay attention to this arc right here, and this bit of wall right there. Like, this creates a sort of, like, a little bit of a framing space for this central clockling to occupy. As, like, which again, he has the highlighting from the sun, which literally highlights him. He's more saturated than everything else, and that's kind of what puts him in the center of the image, but he's not as central of a character as other main characters in the images are, because this image itself is more about the storytelling of this whole little crew of tiny clocklings trying to extract this thing from the sand. I forgot about the wings and the wave. Nope, I covered them. We covered them. We have been over them. Then there's lead and follow, which again, like, the reason why I didn't look at that one is because there's really, it's just a spiral. Some ribbons. There's nothing really to say about it. If I skip a spell, you can just kind of assume it's because I'm not interested in whatever it is. Anyway, compositionally, this image is really interesting, because remember how we've been talking about framing over and over and over and over again? Like, oh, framing here, framing there, framing in the other place, framing on this. Look at how the framing is being used in this image, because the frame is here, and it frames Auroch Glinthorn, who's the Noxian card that stuns people, as if that narrows anything down. It frames Auroch Glinthorn as the ostensible central character of the image, which is a strange thing to do, but that's because the image here is about a conflict between Auroch and his soldiers, who are getting their asses handed to them, and the ribbon dancer herself here in the image. And so the other things that are happening in order to create that dichotomy is like we have the framing centering Auroch, but then we have the ribbon dancer who's creating the framing, who's much more saturated. Like, look at all the color in this image pretty much belongs to her. It's her, like, green and red bodysuit. It's her, like, red ribbons flying through the air. They have all of the color saturation, just all of it. Whereas Auroch Glinthorn, even though he's, like, gold and red and brown, it's like, oh, he's the Minotaur character, he's all washed out. Like, there's very little real color saturation on him. So we have this color saturation still making this the central character because every line and every ribbon and every, like, all of this stuff leads back to her. But he acts as a secondary character in the image because this is about a duel between these two happening during an invasion of Ionia at some point or another or whatever. And once again, shout out to the studio for to the Sixmo Vodka people, because the faces on the Noxian soldiers in the backgrounds, the ones that we see, nice little bit of variety on them. They look rough around the edges, they look like conscripts, and not the time, Demore Real Gaming MT. Not the time, please. So this, like, so that's an interesting way to do the composition. It kind of threw me off my groove there, dude. And something else I really like about this image is the way that the ribbons are implied blood. Like, you look at the way, like, the ribbons that extend from the pitch of her dagger weapons, whatever the hell these things are. Like, the way that this thing is, like, slit across his throat, and this thing, like, slides across the side of this guy's face. They imply trails of blood. Like, they imply the killing without showing it. It's a clever little way to incorporate that kind of imagery without running into trouble with censorship and things like that, like explicit gore. It's a very nice little way to do that. But yeah, it's yet another slender lady hourglass shape person in a game that's full of them already, so that's a little boring. And this, like, and of course, like, there's no problem with her being slender because she's a dancer, but if you look at actual rhythmic gymnastics performers, like actual people who perform rhythmic gymnastics, they don't look like this. They ain't got them curves, son. Like, they ain't got those. They have fucking core strength for days. They have like solid cores, and like they don't have these thick thighs. Anyway, it's just my little bugbear. It doesn't matter. It's not important here. It's not that important here. My little bugbear, my little annoyance. Look at that. Look at our boy. Our boy Chip. He's here. Chip is here. He's the important character. And then there's the secondary character, which is Cliff. Where the hell's Cliff? Cliff, where are you at? You're here somewhere. I know you are. There, Earth Elemental. It's this guy. Here's Chip again. Or maybe it's one of Chip's brothers, for all we know. But it's my boy. It's my good boy. And remembering the stuff we've talked about. So, framing, lighting, detail, and color saturation. What do we have got going on? Well, we have a frame here, which frames Cliff, which frames the rock elemental who's breaking away from this place, or maybe causing it to crumble or whatever. We have a frame around him, so he's one character in the image. Then we have lighting. We have literally just this little spotlight of sun falling on Chip, who's standing here looking over the whole thing. So that creates him as a secondary character in the image. And then, to give us the central character of the image as such, which is the rockfall path, like, which is this bit right here, we have color and saturation. Like, we have lots of color, we have lots of saturation, we've got lots of sunlight dappling down over the green field on this thing that's crumbling into the dirt and people falling down and dying a lot, probably. Compare that to stuff like over here, to the rocks over here. A lot more sunlight, lots more light, and this over here is much more desaturated. So we have all three of the elements that we've talked about so far, like framing, lighting, and color, being used on different parts of the image to make sure the different parts of the image, like, have, like, that they're all highlighted, that they're all part of the composition, but that they don't overpower each other, and that we still get a sense of, okay, this is the important feature in the image. This is what Chip is looking at. This is highlighted with, like, light and color, so you kind of get the sense that, okay, yeah, this bit is the important part, without like getting distracted by the other characters in the image. It's compositionally, it's very good. Like it's just very solid craft when it comes to like making an image where you can have all these details work together without interfering with each other. It's just this is just a really nice. It's not exciting, but it's just a really nice little illustration. Like it's just really, oh, you did a really good job on a technical level making the card do the thing that it's supposed to do. It's just good job, artist who did that. Let's see. Her silver armor looks less painful than Aurelius. Oh, yes, you're right. The ribbon dancer. Because there's less, like, there's no spikes. You see? Like, look at that. Where Aurelia, she has these spikes that point inwards towards her sternum, towards her belly. This character has these rounded shapes that look like they could be flexible. That looks like she can bend and do stuff without stabbing herself. It's funny how that works. And there was another super chat also. Are you going to do show reviews for something like Castlevania or Dota Dragon's Blood? Maybe Into Arcane? Swagmaster. That's the other thing. Is like, the reason I'm able to do animation breakdowns of like League of Legends animations is because Riot is very nice to content creators and they don't copyright claim them. If I tried to do something similar with Castlevania, I would get a copyright strike on my channel like that, because they just, like, it's fair use. I'm doing commentary and review. It's completely fair use under the law, obviously, but the copyright bots and things that detect whether or not you're using too much footage of their thing, they don't give a shit. Like, they don't care about fair use, and you have to take an appeals process, and you get a copyright strike on your channel for the duration of it. It's so much fucking trouble, and it's not worth it for an animation, like, because there are definitely scenes in Castlevania, like the Castlevania anime, that I am desperate to talk about, like especially the whip animations with Trevor. Holy fucking shit, man! But I just don't want to risk it because copyright is fuck assholes. Like, I don't want to fight them over it. Like, anime channels on this platform get fucked all the time for playing like 5 seconds of footage from some episode where the company just decides to fuck the channel for no goddamn reason. I don't want to fuck with it. I don't want to mess with it. It's too risky. I need to pay my rent, and this is how I do that, so I can't fuck with it. Unfortunately. The Solari believe that it was Targon's Sunhawks, brilliant as they are, who caught the immortal fire's attention and who subsequently inspired her cycle of death and rebirth. And the immortal fire, of course, is this birdie right here. And, like, you can see that there... Oh, yeah, there's some inspiration. There's some design overlap there. I wish there was a more convenient way to navigate these things. Anyway, Solari Sunhawk. So, remember the things we talked about so far, and the main thing that highlights the Sunhawk in this image is color and saturation. Because while we look at these gorgeous sunburst colors, like look at that gorgeous orange and yellow and red that's being used all along the wings of this creature, and then compare and contrast that with like the colors in the rest of the image. Like, yeah, there's some oranges going on in the banners and stuff, but this is like this bright burst of highly saturated color that just looks gorgeous in the center of the image that just grabs all of your attention. And that's kind of all you need. And then you have, like, obviously also the handler, who's reaching out to the bird, which again creates this line of movement towards the creature. But this is just all color and saturation, and they're gorgeous colors too. Like, I'm a sucker for like fire and sunsets and like oranges and reds being used in like ways that imply glow. And this is just really like, oh, it's real pretty colors, man. And wings are hard. Wings are hard to paint. Like, it's really fucking hard to paint wings well, and this is a nice pair of wings that they got going on here. Just a gorgeous set of color work. Oh my god, these birds are so pretty. Yeah, right? Like, oh, it's a pretty bird. What do you think of the Ionia problem with Runeterra, where Ionia is in a bad spot because they have more champions than any other regions, thus for balance, not all champs can be in the game? Yeah, I mean, that's sort of a hole that Riot dug themselves into, because generally speaking, their Ionian champions and, like, Asian-inspired champions, broadly speaking, champions like Jhin, champions like Syra Khan, Ahri especially, they have a tendency to be pretty popular, and so Riot management is like, hey, that thing is popular, it makes money, make more of that. So there's a pressure to make more champions in that space. And now they're getting fucked by it because it creates problems in game design down the line. But that's just how game development works. The people who make the business decisions regularly make decisions that fuck the people who are trying to do game design. That's normal. Unfortunately. And that's why I don't think we're getting Bandle City. Because, like, there's plenty of Yordles in the game, but most of them aren't associated with Bandle City. like in Bandle City you have, like, Tristana, Corki, not even Lulu, because she's Ionia. Tristana, Corki, and fuck all else, I think. Like, Teemo is in Piltover and Zaun. Rumble is definitely gonna be Shurima. So, like, yeah. Anyway, gorgeous bird. Love the bird. Bird is good. And the bird is also good here. Where we have a much more explicit, like, we have, like, the sunlight being framed through the crest on the thing's head. Which is just, like, a lovely little effect as this thing is swooping down to claw your eyes out. But just, oh, the oranges, man. Especially contrasted against the blue in the background. Mwah. Pretty. Really pretty. Just pretty art. Very pretty art. Then we have Syncopation, which is, like, again, how we talked about, like, you can't really overuse speed lines too much in paintings like these because they have to look good at this size. So they use a lot of light and, like, a double shadow thing to imply movement, and this is a perfectly good little time spell. Then we have Zilean again, doing more time stuff. Again, surrounded by 3 objects that all point towards him, which is the same thing we saw the way up here where we had the thing. Where's the thing? It was in Zilean's own cards, right? Yeah, Chrono Shift. 3 objects pointing towards Zilean, which is a motif that then gets repeated in Time in a Bottle. 3 objects that are sort of like, you can see the central parts of the discs are sort of pointing towards him. So they like to repeat that 3 structure with Zilean for whatever reason. It's just funny little things you observe.